Have you ever been in a room full of people and noticed that everyone flinches every time their phone rings? Everyone, that is, except one person? That one person who calmly picks up their phone, glances at the screen, and responds completely on their own terms. No starte llamp. No panic grave. Just calm. You might have wondered, are they just really laid back, or is something else going on? Well, if you're someone who lives with your phone permanently on silent, or if you know someone like that, stay with me, because what's happening inside that person's mind is a lot more fascinating than you'd expect. Let's start with what most people assume. A lot of people think that keeping your phone on silent means you're antisocial, or that you're avoiding people, or that you just don't care about staying connected. And sure, on the surface, it might look that way. But psychology tells a completely different story. In fact, the people who keep their phones on silent tend to be some of the most intentional, self-aware individuals in any room. The silence isn't absence, it's a choice. And that choice says a tremendous amount about how their brain is wired. Here's something to think about. Every time your phone makes a sound, a ding, a buzz, a ringtone, your brain releases a small spike of cortisol, the stress hormone. It's your nervous system's way of saying, hey, something's happening, pay attention. Now imagine that happening 20, 30, 40 times a day. For some people, that constant interruption cycle becomes background noise they've simply learned to live with. But for others, particularly those with higher sensory sensitivity, or what psychologists call a low sensory threshold, that relentless stream of alerts feels genuinely overwhelming. It's not drama, it's neuroscience. Their brain registers each notification with more intensity than the average person, and over time, going silent becomes an act of self-preservation. Think about it this way. Imagine you're trying to write something important or have a real conversation with someone you love. Someone keeps tapping you on the shoulder every few minutes. You'd eventually just remove yourself from that situation, right? That's exactly what silent mode is. It's removing the tap on the shoulder so you can actually be present in your own life. And this brings us to something really interesting, the psychology of autonomy. Research in behavioral psychology consistently shows that humans have a deep-seated need for control over their own environment. When your phone dictates when you look up, when you pause, when your heart rate spikes, it's essentially controlling your attention. People who live on silent have often, consciously or not, recognized this dynamic and decided to take that control back. They don't want technology deciding when they engage. They want to decide. That's not antisocial. That's actually a sign of a pretty healthy psychological boundary. Now, there's another layer here that's worth exploring, the personality dimension. Many people who default to silent mode score higher on introversion scales, not because they dislike people, but because their energy is managed differently. For introverts, social stimulation, and yes, a buzzing phone absolutely counts as social stimulation, drains mental energy rather than restoring it. Silent mode becomes a kind of energy conservation strategy. It lets them engage on their own schedule, respond thoughtfully instead of reactively, and protect the mental bandwidth they need to function at their best. And when they do respond to you, you're actually getting their full attention, which, let's be honest, is worth more than an instant reply typed in a panic. There's also something worth mentioning about anxiety. For many people, a ringing phone carries a subtle but persistent undercurrent of dread. It could be bad news. It could be a confrontation. It could be something that derails your entire day before it even gets started. Psychologists call this anticipatory anxiety, the stress you feel not about what's happening, but about what might happen. Keeping the phone on silent removes that anticipatory trigger entirely. The threat is neutralized before it has a chance to knock on the door. It's a quieter life, and for a lot of people, that quieter life is an infinitely calmer one. Let me also say this, there's something almost countercultural about it in the most beautiful way. We live in an era that rewards immediacy. The faster you reply, the more available you seem, the more valuable you appear to be. We've somehow made busyness and constant availability into status symbols. And yet, the person who keeps their phone on silent is quietly opting out of that performance. They're saying, without saying a word, that their attention is not a public resource, that their time has value. that they're not a server waiting to respond to the next request. There's a quiet dignity in that, if you really think about it. So if you're someone who lives life on silent, here's what I want you to take away from this. You're not broken. You're not rude. You're not avoidant. Your brain may simply be more sensitive to stimulation, more protective of your attention, more in tune with your own need for peace. And in a world that profits from your distraction, choosing calm is genuinely one of the most powerful things you can do. And if you've never tried it, honestly, just try it for one day. Put your phone on silent from morning to night. Notice what shifts. Notice how your shoulders relax. Notice how you move through your hours a little more like yourself. Because sometimes the smallest adjustments create the most profound sense of freedom. Your attention is yours. Protect it like it matters, because it absolutely does.